name is Bristle, and you're watching Mr. Amir's cartoon class.
Hello everyone, my name is Mr. Amir, and thank you Bristle. We're going to be working on our first character today, which is Jabber. So, today we're going to be working on how to draw an anime character. A lot of anime characters have a lot of the same body shape and template shape throughout their entire character form. So, to start off, we're going to start off with his head. So his head usually looks like this upside down house shape. And this is for most anime heads. So when you're learning how to draw an anime character, you have to understand that the characters utilize all different types of aspects of shapes to compile together to create one singular image. So, first things first, you want to make this head shape. Should be an upside down looking house for you. Second, you're going to mark off half of that head shape. This will be your line that you will follow to create the eyes and know where the positioning of the nose and the mouth is. Okay? Now, first off, a lot of the times with Jabber, he has his dreads covering his face. So, a lot of his eyes will not be seen on this side of his face. It's just going to be his dreadlocks. So his dreadlocks usually go down up to his chin, and then it has this skinny part where you just make these rectangles. Alright, you're going to make 3 rectangles on each part. So make a rectangle here, make a rectangle here, make a rectangle here. Alright, you just going to make rectangles because it's going to be the formation of what his dreads will be. Second thing is you're going to make his other eye. So his eye is very much like a teardrop. So you're going to start here, curve it around, and then you're going to end that eye right there. Boom. So you know that these hairs and this eye is now here. And you basically have his first 3 dreads. So those 3 rectangles is his first 3 dreads. And we're going to make sure that we get it correctly for the top of his head. Because when it goes upward above the hairline that we already have established right here, we're going to give him more fluff so you guys can be able to see his his ability to actually create those types of faces. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring it all the way up here, and we're going to curve it down right there. Alright, look at that. That looks like a dreadlock. And then we're going to do the same thing here for this dread, here for this dread. And for somebody who had dreads for over 7 years, should be able to know how to do it. Now the last dread that is going to be the end point of where you finish up his hair on this side, it's actually going to come out and then come down and then turn into its own little dread right here. You know, and maybe you put another dreadlock in between. Now, of course, Jabber's dreads come a little bit lower than this, a lot bit lower than this, but we're not going to focus on the second half of his dreads because there's going to be his bangles that separate the top half and the bottom half of his dreads when you are illustrating it. You're going to take this line that you originally put here to make the head shape, you're going to erase that because that was a guiding line for you. So now you have all your dreads and you no longer need that guiding line for that side of the face. Next up is you're going to make his eyebrows and his nose and his mouth. So his nose is very simple. A lot of anime noses are just like this. You're just going to put a V right below where you have the eyes right here. So you can put a V right there. And then that's going to be basically the establishing shot for his nose. His mouth is very straight lipped unless you have him in his smiling pose. But today we're just doing a straight face jabber. So it's going to be 2 lines here and then 1 line to make sure that you can exaggerate the fact that that's his lip. Okay, and then we're going to get rid of this also, this horizon line that we put here. Because now that we have the eye, we no longer need it. Next up, we're going to make a lid for his eye. So you guys will be able to see his eyelids. Okay, boom. This is first eyelid. And you're going to give him a nice, beautiful pupil on the center, but looking towards up. Because a lot of times when he's looking towards people, he's looking upwards towards them. Alright, next up, we're going to do his eyebrow. His eyebrow is very thin, but it's not too thin to where it's a point of there's actually a slit in it. So there's 1/2, boom, and the second half, right here, you're going to leave a little bit of space, and then you're going to put these 2 eyebrows, if you guys are following me. See, boom. Now we basically have his face already drafted out. We're just going to have to add the other half of his dreads. So for his other half of his dreads, you're going to, since this is the peak point, we're going to put up one here, because one comes all the way up here. Make sure his hair has that depth. And then we're going to bring his dreads. Every dread that comes down from here on out is going to be on the opposite side of his eye, because we already have the one eye being covered by his dreads. And so we don't need more than one eye to cover his dreads. We just need one eye to cover his dreads. Okay? So we're going to continue by giving him another dread right here. And all the dreads are just rectangles. All you're going to do is you're going to curve and rectangle it down towards the bottom. Okay, and you're going to do one more. So you have the full depth of what his hair is supposed to look like. Make sure that you have most of your cutoff points even, because that's where you guys are going to start to put your coils for the separation from the top part of his hair to the bottom part of his hair. Understand? Good. So to do that, we're going to create these coils. So each coil is a small cylinder. So if you guys have ever seen a small cylinder, kind of looks like this, you know, and then what you're going to do is you're going to give it a couple rings, because he has these rings around his hair that breaks his hair apart. Okay, so we're going to do that 1, boom, 2, boom, boom, boom. Look at that, starting to see a lot of his face starting to come out, and you're starting to see how he's going to look before we get to his neck and his outfit and his body shape. So for right now, as you see, you have his little cylinders right here. Make sure that you have a couple of lines that are really breaking the cylinders up, so you could see that the rings have a sort of type of version of depth to it while you're creating your characters. So I'm going to do another one right here, another ring, and you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, this is Jabber from Gachikura. I watched the whole series about last week. Loved it, absolutely amazing. I love the fact that they utilize different aspects of like traditional ways of animation to show exactly how the characters think in their own mindset. It brings out a lot of personal qualities to the characters, as well as it brings out personal qualities that a lot of the people who are watching can resemble with. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to create his neck. His neck basically starts from here. You're just going to put a line here, put a line here, but then you're going to put a V down at the bottom because he has a V neck shape shirt, and so that V neck is is going to cut off his regular neck. It's going to be right here. You're going to make sure you have enough space. As well as within these animes, they like to add a little bit of vein to his neck. So you're going to add a line. You're going to just branch it off a little bit here and here. You know what I'm saying? And you're going to make sure that you make it a little bit three-dimensional. So you're going to give each vein a little bit of a branch. If he was more of in a struggle, I would add a lot more veins, but at the moment he is just at a regular standstill. Next up, what we're going to do is we're going to create this collar, which pops out at the end of his dread. So his collar is pretty long. You're going to have it start over here, and then as you bring it out, and then up again, and you're going to bring it down. This collar is going to end out over here. So this collar is pretty big. It passes out a little bit past his dreads, but it is also a part of his fit. And so it also is a part of the V-neck as well. So when you get that collar down, you're going to just erase this line right here. Because as a simple shape, it would have looked like a little trapezoid type of rectangle, and you're just going to erase this line which connects his V-neck together, and you can do it also on the opposite side, because guess what, the same exact collar that you did on that side is the same exact collar you're going to do on this side. Just so you can know, you're going to give it a little bit less space than this, because you see how in this collar it has less space. You don't want to bring too much space in it like I just did. You want to bring a little bit less. You're going to come down and you're going to go. So for Jabber's other collar, you want to make it a little bit higher than this. So what you're going to do is you're going to go all the way up, and it kind of stops right here. Essentially, after you create that second collar of Jabber's piece, puts him in a position where he is able to have that bigger collar. And you want to make sure that you have those 2 points. So it comes up, out, down, and pointing down here. Okay? So this is his secondary collar. Alright, now that you have his collars down, that means you can put his shoulders down. So his shoulders just go straight down from here, from the corner of his collar right here, but you want to give it a little bit of space inward and just bring his shoulders down from here. Okay, but remember that he has a wider sleeve, so you bring it out from here, and then you want to make a little triangular shape right here to really get out that his sleeve is really thick, you know? And then you're going to come back up this way, okay, to fill out what the rest of his arm will look like when you bring it all the way up. Now, the thing is his arms aren't this thick. The problem is that most animes, they usually have like a lot of flowing-esque sleeves while they are fighting, because the clothing is usually flowing in Japanese culture. So you're gonna have to put a little V here, so you know that this is a breakup between the sleeve and has a little bit wrinkles. You know, like in real life, you know, your clothes, you don't iron them, they get wrinkled. So you put that little V here, and then you're gonna put little indents here and here, and down here and here. And then what you're gonna do is, a lot of his shirt is ripped, so you're gonna put a little bit of jagged edges on the edge of your solid shape, so it gives off that ripped effect that a ripped sleeve would look like on a character's body. Now, you're not going to do that with every character, but with specifically Jabber, he has these ripped sleeves because he's fighting in a lot of battles and fights as we know of. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna erase some of this. We're gonna add some more little lines here and here. Okay? So this is where you guys should be at right now, if you guys are following. I hope everybody's following. Good. All right. Now it is going to be the vest. So his vest comes over here, but each part of his vest has a spike. So you're gonna give him little spikes, little triangular spikes on his vest, right here. So just gonna make little triangles as you're drawing. And then you're gonna do his body. His body shape is very thin, so he's gonna have a very thin body. Do both sides. Alright, 2 lines here, 1 line here, 1 line there. But his waist and his waistline, which comes up around the edge of this sleeve right here, you're gonna put a big extra square right here. You're gonna make a big square because his belt holds a lot of fabric in it and utilizes a lot of fabric in it. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're going to make the ripples in the fabric that he has. So with this, you're going to put a little bit of lines inside your square to make sure you have, but don't make them even. You're going to make them a little jagged. So it looks like this whole thing looks like a wrinkled cloth that's wrapped around his waist, because that's basically what you got right there. And we'll add some shadows in these lines so it really looks like it's just his belt and how his belt is set up. See that? See how many ripples there are? Then you're going to add in the actual buckle from the belt. So the belt buckle is going to be this circle. And when you make this circle, you're going to make it a little bit of a 3D circle right here. You're going to put 2 circles right there. And you're going to put the actual belt itself. That goes like a straight line, straight across in the middle. Because what character doesn't have a belt? This costume. You're going to erase the inner streaks that you put for the detail in the cloth that's holding up the belt. Okay? Alright. Now we're really making some headway in here. Okay, so the character is now has his belt, and then he also has a small pouch as well on his side pocket. I'm gonna put that pouch right there. Design it where you put the flap right there. A couple buckles. You know, you don't have to get too detailed with his side pouch. And you're gonna put a little semicircle at the edge here. Right. Then you're going to put his chest plate. His chest plate has a lot of lines in it, so you're going to put a couple lines here for his chest plate. Alright, I'm going to put 3 rows. So it's 1, 2, 3. And these are his main chest plate. Okay. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put his buckles straight down like this and down like this, so you make sure that the character has a little bit of a chest plate right here. And that's kind of how you're gonna make his chest, just like so. It's gonna be like a little square box on the inside, and then his vest comes up here on this side just the same way. And what you're going to do is you're going to put those little triangles that you put on the other side, right? Space them out. Make sure you have space within the triangles, because you don't want them to be all on top of each other. Also don't want it to be too uneven. Alright. And then I'm going to add two lines in here. First pouch again. Put some lines down here. Give his pouch a little bit of detail. And then what you're going to do next is you're going to extend his dreads. So his dreads end up going all the way down here. So you're going to extend each dread to where his dreads are basically taking up the majority of his clothing. So one, that's two, that's three. Parts of these will show through, of these triangles will show through when we paint it in. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to add some of his thickness on his dreads on the bottom half. We're going to extend these. As we extend them, we make these much longer. It's going to cover up some parts like this. So we're going to erase some of this in here. As we fill in these dreads, they cover up some parts of his body pretty well. Okay. And so that should be the basis of what his dread should look like. Okay. Hope everybody is still following with me as I'm going. Alright. So the next step that we're going to do is we are going to make his other arm right here. 2 seconds. So for his other arm, you're going to go down right here. Now this is where his other arm sleeve starts. There's going to be a little bit of a point outward, so you have that ripple, but it's going to do that same V line that you did before, but for this side, you're going to do it again for this side. You know, it gives it a little bit of that ripple effect through the V line that you put in. As you're going to go down, and you're going to come up over here, and you're going to end the sleeve over here. But you know, as you know, it's just the sleeve because the sleeve comes a little bit longer than most of the outfit. But remember, the bottom of the sleeve, it's got a little bit of rips. It's unperfect. It's improper sometimes. Just like his powers. Because his power set falls into creating different types of neurotoxins that bring his enemies to their knees, generally. And so when you bring up this sleeve and then you finish out his body, it kind of looks like this. It kind of looks somewhat like this. So, next part is his pants. So his pants, kind of like this. I'm going to just bring his legs down all the way to the ground, because that's as far as we're going to go. We're just doing the top, up to his top part of his torso of the character. But remember, like an anime character, he's going to have a little bit of triangular hills and valleys within the pants, because guess what? They have very baggy clothing over in Japan, and they utilize that baggy cloth to exaggerate the ripples of the wrinkles or clothing that they have within the Japanese art style. And each character is a representation of what they are in surrounding their culture. So when you're dealing with anime characters revolve around Japanese culture. if you're doing a cartoon character from America, those cartoons usually stylize themselves around American animation, like Disney, Warner Brothers, and Paramount. As you guys create this legs, you're also gonna do the same thing on the inside, but you're gonna make it come down very low because his pants are actually very, very baggy, and they have some design in it to where when you finish up his belt, which is the end of his belt and here, he has these two semicircles right here. 1 and 2. And so these two things are actually patches to his pants. So he has a little bit of stitching right here. Boom, boom. You're gonna put 2 lines. 2, 1, 2, all throughout this curved line that you just put right through there. So boom, 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 boom. So we're gonna do that same thing on the other side. Boom, 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 boom. We'll make sure they're close together. This one's not too close together. We want to make sure they're both close together. Boom, 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 boom. Okay? Thank you guys for following. I'm going to have a couple of ripples within his pants. So you're going to do one that goes over here. And then you're going to do one that slides down here to give it a little bit of that ripple effect. As well as you're going to do a couple indents here and a couple indents here. So you have all the wrinkles you need in his pants when you're actually drawing these in. And with his pants, you start down here and then you come and just give a little point on the inside towards the bottom. And then what you're going to do is the hands. The hands are always the hardest part. So you're going to start off with his wrists. His wrists are not as big as you think. The sleeve comes up to here, but his wrists only come up to here, where he is wearing 2 bracelets. So you're going to put 1 bracelet right here, which is a small oval, as well as you're going to put another bracelet right here, which is also a small oval. And you're going to put his hand shape. So a lot of anime characters and a lot of characters that have human elements have human-like hands. When you're creating hands, hands are usually the hardest subject to work on because hands have the most amount of bones within the structure of their hand structure. So when you see your hands, you're looking at over 100 and something bones within your hands that are separated. So when you're thinking about creating hands, you're not thinking about you're creating a hand, you're thinking about you're creating something that resembles a hand. So you're going to go up, you're going to come down, just so you can give a little bit of that knuckle shape, right? And you're going to come all the way down here, but you're going to hold, you're holding on to what will be his tail. So he doesn't have a tail, it's more of like the cloth that comes from this. So he's holding on to this. And we're gonna draw a line that shows the knotted cloth that he's holding on to and is utilized as his belt shape. Okay. So with the hands, you're gonna come. I'm gonna erase this actually. I'm gonna start over. So, when we get here, we're gonna put the hand, put the lump, and put his first finger kind of like this. But all his fingers are kind of bent, so all of them are gonna be all within the same position. But you want to make sure that they're not too cartoony. You want to make it kind of like bent in a shape where you can see where things start and where they end. So that's his thumb, right? So his thumb comes over here, bends out here, but it has a sharp edge right there, right? And you're gonna make sure the thumb isn't as big as the rest of the fingers. His thumb is always gonna be smaller, right? And then you're gonna come all the way up here, right? Then what you're gonna do is you're going to put this in right here, as well as you're gonna make sure the middle finger is the most extended finger when you're touching stuff, right? And then you're gonna do this. And you're gonna put his fingernails, edge of his fingers, right? And he's balling up his fist, so, or he's curling up his hand, so you're not gonna see all of his fingers. But still, you're gonna miss his pinky, which would come over here, but as you can see, it's hiding behind the other finger. Just as so. See how the fingers all hiding behind each other? And you're gonna erase some of these lines that you made on the inside of the finger previously before. And this finger's gonna lie on that finger, and then you're gonna make these nails on the inside that are semicircles. So you guys see? See how we created this hand and we built out the hand where it looks like it's a hand holding on to his stuff. And eventually it'll transform into claws, like how it does within the shell. Alright, and on the other side, his hand's closed and it's very much at the edge. So you're just gonna make a knuckle shape. Alright? And you're just gonna put one finger where his fingers would be, not where they are. So you're gonna put one knuckle here and just basically hide his other hand behind his pants. And then we're going to give him his rings as well, because he's wearing rings on his fingers. So you're just gonna make a little band on each finger to show off the fact that he has rings on his finger. And he's creating a life from, I believe, his rings that create his vital instrument. This piece that is sticking out and is still here, it's actually his thumb. So here you're gonna have his thumb, but everything else is not gonna show. And all you're gonna do is add that line here, and then add a little bit of a circular image right here to simulate the thumb, and you're gonna put a little bit of a thumbnail, and you're gonna put some rings on it. And then for the, per se, the hand itself, I'm gonna put some of these bands on, again, two bands. Okay, and a nice hard knuckle. And you're gonna hide it behind his pants. Okay, perfect. And I'm gonna erase right here. Make sure it's nice and clean. Okay, and there you have it. You guys, almost about done. We're going to finish up by finishing out his outline. Alright, so now that we're done penciling in our character, and this is basically the formation of Jabber. I'm just going to add a couple more things on his chest plate, like a triangle here, a triangle there. So you guys can see that it is specifically looking like Jabber. And you're gonna split off his shirt here as well, because there's a little white part before it reaches his belt. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna allow this to stay how it is. And remember, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and it ends off with his dreads at the end of each of these. So you're gonna make sure that you accentuate his dreads at the end, so you don't forget any of that. I'm gonna erase just these marks on the inside, So we have our full-fledged template. And there you go. There's Jabber penciled in. Now, after this, I will be our outline. You guys can clearly see this is Jabber. We are now going to continue and start the painting portion. So what I'm going to start off with first is his hair. So his hair is an easily done solid brown color, but it's a darker brown. So we're going to add some brown mixed with some darker brown. All right. Now that we have finished our outline, you guys can clearly see this is Jabber. We are now going to continue and start the painting portion. So what I'm going to start off with first is his hair. So his hair is an easily done solid brown color, but it's a darker brown. So we're going to add some brown mixed with some darker brown. And when you're mixing the paint, you're going to mix the paint. Your paint, this is my palette, right? So we're going to mix the paint to where it makes it look like the dark brown that his hair color is, by mixing a little bit of a burnt sienna with a black to get this darker color. Don't add too much black, you just want a little bit of a drip. And you're going to paint the inside of this dreadlocks. So here's one dread. And now we're beginning painting portion. So, why did I choose to paint Jabber today? Main reason why is because when I was watching that show, some of the stuff that was going on just was absolutely unbelievable. I mean, you had the character just coming in with all types of poisons, and he didn't even go all out on y'all. I was like, damn. So he was like really one of the sickest characters to me out of the entire show. You know, I'm like, bro, he came out the gates, you know, kicking butt, and then he didn't even try his best. He was fighting insane totem or whatever for the last 40 minutes, and then when he had the opportunity, he was able to show people exactly how it was done. Separate thing. You see how I left a little bit of white there? That white that I'm leaving right there will be used for when I re-outline after the painting ends up drying. So you're gonna do the same thing over on the top part of his head. And you're gonna skip this middle portion because that's where his bangles go. As you see, just fill in each dreadlock one by one with this dark brown hair. This darker brown color. You know, and then you can blend some of this lighter brown in with it to give it a little bit of highlight. Like he has a little bit of highlight in his head. And you can see that he has some type of like, you know, highlighting. It's always good to paint new characters and new people that you see on TV. It helps your skill level grow as an artist, you know, and it really helps you become a better artist by experimenting with things that you usually don't do. So like for me, I'm usually a traditional American style cartoonist, but I've recently gotten into doing anime characters and comic book characters because it's very popular within demand, and I've been watching some of the shows and I genuinely like it. So I'm able to, transfer what I'm learning to you guys and bring you guys the availability to, learn with me. You guys can be able to create your own things. My main thing is that I want people to, think of art as not just a hobby, but also as something that you can one day do as a career. Even though we are in trying times where they are trying to make artists seem more and more obsolete every day, we as artists, we can't sit by and allow these things to continue to happen. And so for me, it's more important for people to understand why we believe art is important. And so by doing that, I utilize, my own artistic skills and artistic talents that I've gained over the last decade of painting. I decided to, really try to bring to other people the same love that I brought to myself by finding painting. And painting genuinely has saved my life in many different ways and times. It started a career for me. It's put food on me and my wife's table. But it's brought me a lot of joy and a lot of comfort, as well as learning the individual intricacies around painting and creating. Has been a journey in itself. When I was in my early 20s, I was lucky enough to work around many different artists and absorb a lot of the knowledge that they bestowed upon me on what they learned over the years. And it's only right for me to go, now that I've come to learn the craft to the best of my ability. It's my turn to be able to, educate and bring to more people who are younger or older, it doesn't matter, who are interested in learning what an artistic medium is and what artistic medium they find themselves loving. And to me, I've always loved animation and cartoons just because I enjoy to not just look at the characters themselves, but also to understand the movement of characters as they are starting to move around and, in an animated feature, because those types of things really bring me to a point where I really find a great joy in the art. So as you guys can clearly see, I'm painting every single one of his dreadlocks brown, and it is really coming out nicely, because you want a thinner brush when you're working on your finer lines and you're trying to paint within a skinnier line. You don't want to use the thickest brush you have to paint into a skinnier line that you have, because you're just going to end up painting over the line that you've already pre-traced for yourself, because those are your guidelines. Those are what's helping you be able to follow where the character is going to go next and how you're going to display the character while you're painting. It's really a way for you to understand the spacing that you have between each line. Because if you don't understand the spacing between each line, you'll end up making mistakes. But what I love to say when you're making a mistake, when you're painting, nothing's ever a mistake. You know, I don't really think of many things as mistakes, because if you think you're making a mistake while you're painting, it's creative, it's art. You know, there are things where you feel as though you might have messed up or you created a mistake because it's not what your eye wanted to create in the first place. But when I started painting, I could not make what was in my mind immediately, you know? Like, usually you think something up and you think you could draw it. Nope, that was not how it worked for me. And so since that's not how it works for me, and sometimes it's not how it works for everybody, you end up Hello? Hello? Hello?
Fucked up my time lapse.
Okay. So you're gonna add some of that light brown into the darker brown. So you have some highlight in his hair. There you go. Just little lines right here. Boom, boom. You know, you don't want to add too much, because if you add too much highlight in it, you end up really just changing this full-blown hair color. But one little line inside each block will show that his hair gets to shine, do a little bit on top. Just make sure his roots have a little bit of life in it, and it brings more life into his hair. You see? So I'm just gonna blend it in. You don't want it too different in tone. You just want it to be like a little line. You know, most of it stays basically essentially the same. You know, but you have little parts where it blends and it flows. Alright. So we're just about done with his hair. Only thing we got left is to wash our brushes off and continue on to the next step. So the next part you're gonna do is his skin. You're gonna be very gentle and delicate. You want to make sure that you have a lighter skin tone, but not a white skin tone, because he is a light-skinned character. And if there's debates on that, ask the author of the manga, because she says otherwise. Painting them in. Okay. Make sure you're very careful with the lines that you did. You don't want to cover anything up, because if you do, you have to draw it over after you're done, your painting is done drying. Even though, lo and behold, you still have to do that towards the end anyway. But it helps, because the less you have to outline later, the faster you can be finished with your painting. Okay. So you just gotta fill in those lines, and those lines. Continue to paint carefully. What you're gonna do after you fill it in, you're gonna add a little bit of a darker tint to this so you can really shade it. We're going to get a smaller brush for this next part of the process. So right now we're just base layering it. Just see how it looks. Now, I am in a studio, but it is freezing cold in here. So, that's why I am wearing a hat. And I'm also wearing a scarf. Alright, just get that eyelid too. I'm gonna go get a smaller brush to then add some highlight to this. So now we have our lighter tone, our darker tone. So we can add some highlight. So we're going to add some highlight as cheekbones. You always want to add highlight on a character's cheeks. So people can see. And there's at least some shadows hitting his face. And by doing that, you just take that same color that you utilize for his face. You're gonna add a little bit of brown to it. By adding a little bit of brown to that light tone, really brings out the shadows in his face. And then for him, he has his dreads covering him, so you want to make sure you put some shadows where the dreads are. You know, and just gonna fill those in. Don't want to get too much into his dreads. I think it's enough to where it looks kind of shadowy. Just along with your brush. That dark tone and shadows. Of course, the side of the neck will have some shadows too. The more shadows you add, the more depth it looks like you gave the character, but you just add a little bit of lines of the darker tone around the edges of his face by giving him those shadows. go. Glory of his face. Done. Just want that one. Just shadows don't overshadow his face. And make sure it's still there. There you go. There you go. Just like that. Just like that. So shrink. Alright, perfect. So that's Jim's face. Okay. What you're gonna do is you're gonna add some of the yellow. Now you're gonna just fill in his bangles with this yellowish silver, goldish area. And you'll go over it again with that black marker at the end. But you're just gonna fill these in with that goldish brown, because it gives off this metally color. Next is going to be the purple. So purple is going to be utilized on my shirt. So the lighter tone purple. For the purple, you can add that right here. So this is going to be the purple you use here. Careful pulling heavy lines. Just going to fill. Fill over here too. Cover up some new lines, but you'll be able to see through them. So you'll be able to add some new lines after you add this purple one. Okay, it's really starting to come out now. As you can see. See the clove. Sorry about that, guys. I'm going to clear it again. So essentially, continue to paint. Good. Yep. So we're going to be able to inside without this just gonna go over the lines you put before. But make sure that when you're painting this on, you can still see the lines underneath. I can faintly still see the lines underneath. You guys may not be able to see it through the camera, but I can see it through my personal eye lens as I get closer and closer to it. So I'm able to directly put the same lines where I put them previously before. So over glob everything with paint. Alright. Next up, you're going to put your brown belt in. So I'm going to wash off this brush. I think the next thing I'm going to do is dark blue pants. So I'm going to mix a little bit of blue with black, and then you're going to get the color for those dark blue pants like this. And you're going to just paint it in, fill, and as you continue to fill this, you'll be able to fully see outcome of the paints will turn. So with these darker blue pants, see how faint the blue is on here? It depends on the type of blue you use. So lighter than the blues, and the blues. Shade it in. Sometimes you gotta give it a couple more. So we've been going for over an hour now, guys. Yeah, marching through. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the experience watching the entire paint session. As you know, I'm about to put them 2-hour-long paint sessions in here. Ask questions while we're done. As you can see, this is
sorry. I'm going to leave now.
Okay, Peter.
What's your schedule for tomorrow?
I will not be in tomorrow because it's supposed to snow. I won't be in tomorrow because it's
You
supposed
won't be in tomorrow.
But,
tomorrow will be here?
Wednesday I'll be here.
Oh, sure you are. Okay. Oh, I like that.
Thank you.
Nice little studio here.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is about the size of my room and my bedroom.
Yeah.
I like your camera.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
So you're gonna fill in this cream colored shirt. This cream color. It's not white. The shirt's not white. The shirt's white. Real white shirt. Fresh shirt. So on both ends you can continue to do this again, and you guys are going to catch me in the next episode, hopefully, if you stay tuned, be able to continue to learn how to bring these characters to life. So the last part that you're going to add this cream color is right here, center of his chin and stomach. So that goes over all the cream colors, and then next part we're gonna do his shirt and his vest. The shirt and his vest has the same gold color that you just made for here on the side. So these little buckles and this is all golden. Of course, his rings also have this gold too. His rings. So his hand. That's his artifact. Bringing his claws to life. Brush every time. So his shirt is actually this dark blue color that we put down at the bottom. Put that on the top of course, after we're done, we will be re-outlining to make sure that we have a proper look for our characters. I'm actually going to go over these because I like this look. And I will do the finish up the best portion of this outfit. But as I finish up his vest over here. This lines, wait. Finish up these lines. I'm gonna leave these ones open. Got his vest. So now that you have his vest, you have most of his outfit done. You're gonna do his hands last. And then we're gonna wait for it to dry, and then we're gonna re-outline our character after we finish the belt buckle and the little things on the side. And you're using basically the same color palette the entire way through, because if you had too many different colors, it becomes very hard to continue to shade those characters that you really want to shade. So it's better to have less color variation. The more you think about how you're painting, the more you can keep it simple. There's a little saying when I was in school, I used to say, keep it simple, stupid. I always try to keep it simple. Different characters, because the more complex you get into the shapes, and the more complex you get into everything, the more complex the drawing becomes. And it becomes harder for other people to understand how to create those characters, especially if they haven't had any formal training or formal background in painting, trying to figure out exactly how to create characters that they've never seen before. Progressively trying to make myself get better and become better, and if I'm able to do so one step at a time, it helps me understand. It's a process of trying to get better. Like anime characters are not usually my bread and butter. I'm usually one to do a traditional American cartoon. But because of popularity of anime characters in the West now, and just everything within art in general, it's better for me to know how to make them instead of saying, "Oh, I'm gonna do it. So it's not gonna do it." I know a lot of artists that do live by that logic because they don't know how to do something, they don't even try to. So as we progressively create shows that we all have different ways of drawing and creating shapes and different looks. So we're all following the same type of template. So just create and try to have characters we can imagine for our own selves sometimes. For me, sitting here and helping you guys step by step, getting better. You know, I have done something to inspire art towards you guys. And I'm glad we're having these conversations. A lot of it is just me having conversations with myself. There's one scene in this show that doesn't include Jabber. I thought it was a sensitive part of also, what's up with enemies? And, like, the bad guys gotta use themselves in the third person. Like, every time I watch an anime, it becomes a thing of they start talking about themselves in third person. And with that, it's about, I mean, like Amo's like, Amo does this, Amo does that. Ooh, what's up? It took me a little time. Took me a little time to realize, oh, you're Amo, and you're just talking about yourself. Here, I'm going to add these little silver bubbles here. Sometimes I take a little bit creative liberties for myself. It doesn't have to look exactly like it. And we finish with Jabber, and then we can outline it after it's all dry. And when we come back, I'll re-outline the character, and it'll look more like Jabber. This is cool angle. So when we return, guys, we are going to re-outline, and then you guys will be able to Alright guys, so to finish this out, I'm going to show you guys a close-up of the outlining process. So you're going to just re-outline the lines that you put previously before. So you can define each section how you originally created the character in your vision. So the lines that you add more redefines your original vision. Because a lot of the times when you paint, the paint gets rid of a lot of the underlining that you did before. So going over it one more time before completion gives you the opportunity to give you all the things that you were looking for in the beginning. Able to begin. So you're able to just re-outline everything, details, little touch-ups. This is where we add our touch-ups. Cloth. Parts to make sure character section. Area as you wanted to be. Have it. It's got your goodie. You guys have Jabber. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Show me how you guys have yours turn out after you finish painting yours. Thank you much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.